Hello, welcome back here into Caden's Weather Center. Right now, today you're watching a brand new tropical weather update here on Tropical Storm ERIN that is continuing to make its way through the Atlantic as it kind of is just hanging out in the main development region at this time, but is moving at a pretty remarkable pace that's kind of limiting its development a little bit just because of how fast it's moving. We're going to dig deeper into the models here. We're going to talk about who could get the impacts. Bermuda needs to be on high alert with this tropical system just in case, as we have a couple models leading it right into the Bermuda area, but also some surf could be really big impacts here for the east coast of the United States. So let's jump right into it. Today is August 13, 2025. We're going to pay attention to Tropical Storm ERIN. So right now, let's take a look here currently at the United States. What are we kind of looking at right now across the country? Well, we're currently seeing, maybe some severe weather threat that is going to be continuing on over here in the northeast today. We're going to be seeing that severe weather threat stretching all the way from New York, maybe even into Maine, down here, all the way into parts of down even into the Gulf, really. We're going to be seeing some of those scattered showers, thunderstorms kind of continuing on. We have some flash flooding concerns that are continuing on as well in Tennessee here, as Chattanooga, Tennessee really got hammered with some of that flash flooding, and they're still under a flash flood warning at this hour of the video. That's, as this video going up, about 2 hours will be remaining in that flash flood warning there. West Coast looking very, very quiet here. Maybe some slight rain showers here in specific areas stretching through Wyoming, maybe even going into Utah and Nevada. But really the West Coast kind of just in a little bit of a heat wave at this time. But that is expected to kind of go down as we go on throughout today, going into tomorrow as well. So let's take a look right now here at the tropics. This is kind of what we're paying attention to. This is what the video is going to be mostly about. We have Tropical Storm ERIN that's kind of hanging out over here in the Atlantic, going to be making its way over here to the west. No impacts immediate to the islands right here. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we take a look more at the track from the National Hurricane Center. But of course, if you live in the Leeward Islands, or Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, make sure you're paying attention to the National Hurricane Center and their frequent updates that they put out on Tropical Storm ERIN. We have a couple more tropical waves that are going to be emerging off of Africa here, but as of right now, nothing else is marked by the National Hurricane Center off of Africa. We do have an area right here that is in the Western Caribbean that is marked by the National Hurricane Center, expected to go over the Yucatan and make its way into the Gulf here and really kind of just have that possibility of formation later as we head into maybe this weekend as it starts to make its way over here down to the northwest. But other than that, not too much going on. Another area of interest as well up here by the Atlantic from the National Hurricane Center. But up here in the northern Atlantic, not expected to form, obviously, as there's not that most favorable conditions of environment. But our main focus, obviously, is going to be Tropical Storm ERIN. Having a lot of convection that happened a little bit last night, you can definitely see maybe a little bit more of the bubbling is starting up once again this morning. But you can definitely tell here on the satellite picture on how much of this storm is on the western side here. You can kind of see where that low pressure or the spin is. It's going to be right on this eastern side, with all of the main issues that from the storm are going to be on the western side here of that eye, or the center there, as it continues to move off to the northwest. Now, obviously, we'll see the storm get a little bit more organized. Probably over here in the next 24 hours, we might be seeing some pretty big intensification as it's heading into more of that favorable environment at this time. Water temperatures getting very warm as well. Taking a look here at the National Hurricane Center, what are they forecasting? Obviously, as we head into late this weekend, we're expecting that major hurricane to possibly be on the table here. Category 3 or above is considered major, and that's kind of what we're anticipating here, with 120 mile an hour winds expected Monday morning here, as it's just right north of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. Now, once again, this is the big cone of uncertainty here. We still have these parts of the cone right here that the storm could go anywhere in. So I want to pay attention to it, and I cannot stress it enough. If you are in Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic, this storm is not just completely going to miss you. You're definitely going to be getting some beach conditions there, but also if the storm kind of rides the southern part of this cone, that's going to bring even more impacts here to the islands. So make sure that you're keeping an eye on that very, very closely here, and obviously once again paying attention to the National Hurricane Center very closely. We're expecting a hurricane here maybe by Friday morning. We're going to be seeing that Category 1 hurricane as it continues to make its way off over here. Right now we still have more of that westward motion still at 17 miles an hour, so still moving fairly quickly, but not as quickly as it was moving around 24 mile an hour yesterday here. But now we're going to be anticipating, obviously, the storm to kind of hang out as a tropical storm as we head throughout today and heading into tomorrow as well. Taking a look at the spaghetti models, we see a lot more of agreement this morning here. Taking a look at these models, majority of those models obviously going to be pulling through the north, and we're going to talk about why it's going to get pulled to the north. But once again, you see Bermuda right here. GFS kind of brings it very, very close to the Bermuda area, and that is going to be something to pay attention to very closely. But no models exactly bring it into the islands, but that doesn't mean the islands are not going to get impacts. But even more, you have these southern models here. If it goes more in the southern models, that means more impacts to the islands could be expected from Tropical Storm ERIN. Now, that's why the National Hurricane Center does have those tropical storm wind speed probabilities here. There is some chance here for Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. We still see some of those chances, 30-40% maybe in some of those areas as well. So once again, not too high of that, but really majority of it's kind of just going to be staying off over here into the Atlantic. And that's something that we're obviously still going to be watching, because if it does go to the south, then that's going to bring a little bit more of gusty winds, more rainfall to the islands, and that's why the National Hurricane Center has that marked in that area specifically. Taking a look here at the intensity forecast, we are forecasting for that major hurricane. That black line right there is the National Hurricane Center. We can clearly see that majority of the models are bringing it up into Category 3, nothing higher at that time. But you can kind of see the CMCs bringing it just to a Category 1 there. That's that pink model right there. The red models, the GFS, does bring it up into the Category 3, but does bring it back down into the Category 2 region. But we are expecting a major hurricane from this storm specifically. Taking a look here at the GFS model, we can clearly see right now, this is, tomorrow morning, 1,003 millibars from the storm, continuing to move off over here to the west-northwest. According to the GFS, we'll start making that a little bit more of a turn to the north there. But we could clearly see some intensification definitely is going to be expected here. But I want to pay attention to something really quickly here. We have a high pressure that's going to be sitting over here over the United States, as well as the one that is in the Atlantic. And that is kind of why we're going to be seeing that storm kind of get pulled off to the north here. And we're going to kind of see that find a breakaway. And the reason why is because this high pressure is going to have that weakness, and that's kind of going to bring that storm to get pulled up to the north here. We do also have a trough up here that's not going to dig too deep down to kind of pull it up to the north, but that's just still, the storm's going to be, obviously if it's a hurricane, what tends to happen when you have a hurricane or a major hurricane, storms like to tend to go more to the north, and that's when they get pulled to the north. And that's why majority of hurricanes kind of get pulled to the north, but obviously that's not the only reason why. It also depends on these high pressures that kind of sit over here in the Atlantic as well. But that's what's going to happen with this storm. It's going to get pulled up to the north. It's going to find a breakaway through that high pressure there, and it's going to get pulled off right to the northeast eventually there. But once again, even though it's very far out from the United States, we're still going to be seeing a lot of those impacts here for rip currents right over here on the eastern part of the United States. So obviously make sure you're paying attention to the flags that are at the beach, as well as swimming near a lifeguard just in case of something that could happen with these high rip currents from Tropical Storm ERIN, future Hurricane ERIN there. Going to be racing off to the northeast there, but no impacts to land or anything like that. Head over here by the islands. Maybe some, once again, kind of getting that closer range to the islands, but no major threat to the islands, I would say. Now, the European model earlier this morning, not being as strong as the GFS until it really starts to get maybe more north of the Dominican Republic here, but then we kind of see it get, once again starts pulling up to the north here. 956 millibars that we could see until it gets pulled up to the north. The Euro kind of brings it up to the north a little bit farther out than the GFS, as the GFS by this time of where the Euro was, the GFS is kind of more on the outside of that system right there, and it kind of brings it more to the north quicker and more near to the Bermuda area, as the European model is going to be bringing it between the Bermuda area and the United States here, and that could bring more wave impacts as well throughout the east coast of the United States there. Ocean temperatures very warm in specific areas. Obviously, we know that 30-degree weather, or not 30-degree weather, 30-degree Celsius temperature there that we can obviously see with that water temperatures kind of more just where the Bahamas are. But really, once you get into the islands here, the Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, kind of those warmer waters, but not as warm as what we're seeing off like the east coast here of Florida, and really beyond to the east right here, maybe even in the Bermuda area as well, where those are going to be the warmest waters right there. Taking a look at the wind shear, this is something that we continue to pay attention to as well. We can see that here's Tropical Storm ERIN, continuing to move off to the northwest here, or, the west as of this morning as well, and has been making that westward approach. Some decreasing shear kind of continuing on and just in its front of its path here. We do have some increasing shear, but not expected to be really a big impact for the storm, honestly. And then you kind of can see once it makes its way here, we're not going to be seeing a lot of that wind shear kind of in its way here. And we obviously know that this map is going to change over the, it changes, every 24 hours we see a little bit of an update from this. So we know that there's decreasing shear right in front of it, some right over the islands right here. Those dashed blue lines mean decreasing shear. The white lines mean increasing shear, but that doesn't mean there's going to be an insane amount of wind shear to, unfortunately, try to choke this storm out there. Taking a look here, as we are in August, we're starting to head more and deeper into hurricane season here. Where do our storms mostly develop kind of in this region right here? We kind of can see it with the islands. That's kind of our big impact area really during this part of hurricane season. The islands stick right out there, really splitting the Atlantic through the Caribbean. And majority of the storms do tend to go up to the north. They get pulled off, and that's due to the high pressure and kind of just the environment that these storms kind of go through, with the upper level and lower level conditions from the Atlantic here, the high pressures, the fronts, the troughs, everything that we're looking at there. But you kind of can see majority of those storms kind of go up to the north here, and that's what we're seeing. Now September will be a whole different scenario. We'll take a look at that in another video, but you can mostly see majority of our storms will start to form here, kind of where Tropical Storm ERIN is located at right now. Taking a look here at the Global Tropical Hazards Outlook, this updates every Tuesday. We have that most recent update. Yesterday was Tuesday, and we can see that right now as we go through this week, August 20th, 26th, as we head farther down the week, we can clearly see some tropical development is expected here in the Atlantic, and you can definitely see that does include the Puerto Rico area and the islands, but really some high chances starting to get up there, and the medium chances here of the main development region having a tropical system in that region. Now, that doesn't mean exactly that we're going to be having any tropical system hit the United States or hit any land. This is just a general idea that we could have something forming in this region during that week, and that's kind of a prediction of what the models are kind of saying and what the prediction center thinks as well. Then you head to August 27th through September 2nd. We can obviously see, look at this very big area that also could have that formation right there. And I will say the Euro AI has been pretty consistent on another storm kind of forming behind ERIN here, with possible United States impacts, but we'll take a look at that later on in the future, because that is way too far out to kind of get concerned about right now. But obviously still something to really pay attention to there. We still have a very long time left of hurricane season. We are really only about in this region right here. We're still kind of only in this region, so we still have a lot more to go up, and then a slow road down, and you kind of can see that here, and I brought it up in the last couple videos of the tropics. We could clearly see that starting off with June, July, not a lot of activity there, but we are below average for the amount of energy that is in the Atlantic at this time, but you can see that there's not as much of an uphill as if we were going this way. There's more of a downhill. That means a more active hurricane season's on the second half of the hurricane season part, stretching through September, October, and even into November as well. So to kind of just, wrap this up, we have Tropical Storm ERIN that's going to continue to move off over here to the northwest, so that's something to continue to pay attention to. But I would definitely say if you live in the islands, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, and even Bermuda, make sure you're paying attention to the models, make sure you're paying attention to the National Weather Service, National Hurricane Center as well. Wherever you get your local weather information from, make sure you're paying attention to them as well. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. Make sure you stay safe out there. If you have any questions about Tropical Storm ERIN or any other weather updates or questions, leave it down in the comments down below, as well as following my X page down in the description down below as well for the latest information on any weather system that is going on around the tropics and around the country as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. Stay safe, and bye-bye.